Hello and welcome, fellow motorsports fans. It's been a brilliant week of racing, and as always, I'm here to tell you all about it. Now, in fact, it's not been all that big a race week to speak of, really, as the year is winding down in the single-seater world. But we, first of all, still have a few races to talk about, and then it is the interesting roster season plan announcement time of the year, so we've got loads of things to talk about anyway. Now, the only actual on-track action we had all week was the Indian Formula 4 with 5 races in 1 week to make up for the lost round last time out. Unfortunately, I didn't get to watch any of these, but then again, looking from the past races, I don't think I missed too much. Really, the main talking point that stands out here is Akshay Bohra really just disappointing a little. I really expected him to maybe dominate is a bit too much, but you know what I mean? I very much expected him to have more than one win to his name after a good 10, 11-ish races. So that is very surprising. Cooper Webster continues being a class act and just dominating the field, really. That's great to see, I suppose. He's going to take that title for sure, unless something goes horribly wrong. But yeah, really, the whole storyline for me is what's going on with Akshay Bohra, and then also, will we see Ali Moseen or Rajiv somewhere in the future? Where will we see him and what will they achieve? Obviously, they look promising. Alex Sawyer, yeah. The Vietnamese guy called Alex also got his first win. The races I've seen him in, he wasn't all that impressive, but obviously more and more experience. They're racing on the same track every single time, so maybe the dynamics, the power levels are shifting a little bit. Either way, there seem to be a lot of interesting characters in this grid, but yeah, for the time being, it's difficult to really tell too much about them, if that makes sense. Now then, with the weekly races out of the way, let's get into the interesting bit, which is the news, and we are going to start with what I think is a proper bombshell, and as Jack Doohan declining job opportunities, and according to himself, in both IndyCar and WEC, so we could at least have a little speculation about whether or not he's been offered one of those Alpine hypercar seats, which I still think is what should have happened, really. I do think he's very much good enough for that. He's not doing Formula 2 next year, so it seems a bit odd to not take up a job opportunity, but we all know how it is once you're out of the F1 paddock. It seems to be very difficult to get back in. So maybe this is the right call for him, and I do think he is. I mean, he's easily been one of the most impressive drivers all year, potentially the most impressive one, at least from the non-rookies, and he just suffered a lot from having a bad car for the first half of it, so yeah, it is a bizarre one. I hope he's got something secured for 2025, just in case this goes wrong. Now, I could see Alpine keeping him around as a test reserve driver in case they need him for 2025 in F1, and if they don't, then they can send him to WEC. It doesn't seem unlikely that an Alpine seat is going to open up anytime soon, because at least to me, it doesn't make sense to keep both Gasly and Ocon, who are on a very similar level. As I said, maybe there's a future there, but then again, there is Martin's coming up, there's Mini coming up, so I don't know. Very, very difficult situation for him, and definitely a surprising choice. Okay. Before we talk about some more Alpine juniors, though, this is a very different topic and one that I am looking forward to a lot, as it is a new season, yet again starting a new winter series to keep us occupied, which is the Saudi F4. I think we've talked about this in a previous episode a little bit, but now we know a few more details, namely the calendar and an interesting interview with the owner, organizer, whatever, and essentially it's going to be like the Indian F4, like the French F4. It'll be all a one-team operation, and apparently they are planning on running up to 20 cars, which is a lot for an inaugural season, so that would be great. And they were at least teasing the idea that there might be a few high-profile Europeans joining the season as well, and they won't just be all over in the UAE Formula 4 apparently. Now, this series is more aimed at developing local talent, according to the organizers themselves. They don't really want to be competition to the UAE F4 in terms of attracting all the top European prospects, but I always think it's very important for those developmental series to still get in some proven drivers, some known quantities, so you just have, just to provide comparison. So we can actually judge if the local talent, for example, is competitive or if they are just competitive amongst each other. So I think this is going to be great. It'll start, I believe, next weekend. Yes, it'll start next weekend. Unfortunately, they don't have an entry list just yet. That'll be published in a few days. I might do a preview, I might not. Depends on when they drop it. Okay. Staying with F4, but back to Alpine news, and this one is one I'm really happy about, which is Abby Pulling staying with the Alpine Academy and also returning to British F4 next to another year in F1 Academy, which is not a big surprise, but the key thing is that she's actually also going to go back to the proper male level competition. Now, if this is something that we are going to see more often moving forward, then I am all for it. If F1 Academy ends up being just a way for women to get more affordable seat time next to a proper competitive season on the side, that would be the dream, wouldn't it? So this is huge news. Really looking forward to see how she does, what she's learned from her year in F1 Academy, and also what this means for just F1 Academy talent going forward in general. Another bit of Alpine driver news, and this is a bigger segment now, the FRECA bit of the episode, and this is somewhat surprising. Nicolas Lacorte joining the Alpine Academy, and also with plans to join Trident for FRECA in 2024, and it's also been announced that he's also going to be doing the Oceania winter season as well, so he's going to be one busy boy next year. Now, from all the Prema rookies, he's not been hugely impressive. I want to say he's been like on par with Aldehari on a very similar level. So I mean, by no means bad, but he was also in a Prema. Certainly didn't look like an F1 Academy prospect, as in should be signed to an academy. This is a really confusing naming convention they have with that female series, but either way. So I don't really see the point of Alpine Academy picking him up, but then again, we know that's not always how the Alpine Academy works, is it? So fair enough, I suppose. Trident sounds about right for the type of car I'd expect him in. Yeah, he was never going to get one of those Prema seats, was he? So fair enough. Just a bit of an interesting one. But it's sort of, at least, now I'm considering maybe there's more to the guy than we noticed this year. So I don't know, I can't help but get a tiny bit excited whenever somebody is picked up by an academy, no matter how much they're paying for it. A more exciting prospect for next year's FRECA season is Tuukka Taponen joining with RASGP, who arguably looked like the strongest team actually this year, or at the very least looked to be the quickest car on average, in my opinion. So this is a fantastic move for the Finn, really. It probably means that he didn't get the Prema seat. I don't know if he'd go there voluntarily, but either way, he should be very happy there. He should be fighting for, at the very least, the rookie title, in brackets, if he stays eligible for the rookie championship, depending on what he does over the winter. But either way, he'll be one of the best. He should be in contention for best driver to start his FRECA level career this year. Let's just put it that way. Who cares about the official rookie trophy? I don't particularly, anyway. So this is really fantastic. This is sort of, I think we are going to have a setup here of Taponen and Yuga Chukwu obviously going into the season as two of the favourites, and then combined with everybody staying for obvious reasons. Kamara, the big one. So yeah, the FRECA season is really shaping up to be great. Now, if only the cars were more racy, we could actually enjoy it better. But we'll complain about that when we get there next year. And then another FRECA pickup is Pedro Claro stepping up to FRECA as well. Again, not really a big surprise. He's done quite well in the Spanish F4. He's got the experience under his belt now on the level. No point staying around any longer. I want to say, maybe ever so slightly disappointed with the season. I maybe expected him to be in the title fight a little bit more than he was. But he was still a very consistent point scorer, often a podium contender, that sort of level. So very much did a solid job over in Spain. and I'm sure he'll continue in FRECA as well. And then we've got some more news now. Obviously, Lakota, we've seen about this, but Gerard G also switching to the FRECA season, FRECA level from GB3. Now it's not. They didn't say if he was going to do GB3 next year anyway, which I think he might. But he's going to be doing the Oceania winter season as well, so that should be great to watch. For him, I bring it up in particular because he's had such a weird season after winning Chinese F4 last year and then this year racing for a super non-competitive team. He smashed his teammate despite his teammate getting an absurd amount of reverse grid random race wins. So I don't know, it's just been a weird and difficult to judge season just because of how shit I think the car was. So this should really tell us if he is a competitive driver and it can, step up quickly. He has experience in machinery on that level. It shouldn't take him too long. Like, he should be expected to arrive in this season guns blazing, really. But if he does, then this should be a good opportunity for him to show that actually, his performance this year isn't reflective of who he is as a driver. And then last but not least, we have Adam Fitzgerald, who you may or may not remember of being involved in that horrific, deadly incident with Delano Van Toff earlier this year. He can finally return to full-time racing, as we all hoped and expected, for 2024, and it looks like he is making the switch to America, joining Turn 3 Motorsports over in USF Pro 2000. There have been loads and loads of USF 2000, USF Pro 2000 announcements over the week. There's no way we can go into all of them. I think we are surprisingly close to being able to get a full preview going of these series, really. But this is the one that really stands out. Another European making the switch early, and then just a bit of a feel-good story. It's obviously everyone who recovers from horrific injuries and returns to the sport and still has that drive to compete is fantastic to see. And I think that little bit of optimism that we all need every now and then, isn't it? Anyway, what do you make of all these roster announcements and driver announcements, and who are you looking forward to the most in FRECA next year? Do you think the rookies have a chance, or is it just going to be all Kamara? Let me know down in the comments, and I'll see you all next week to review, the next week. Bye-bye.